morning. We're going to look at the gradients and how they work in Adobe Illustrator. We'll be looking at linear, radial, and free-form gradients. So to start off, let's open a new document. We're going to open up the letter size. We're going to call it gradients. And we're going to make the orientation landscape and tell it to create. Okay. So now we have a new document, and we're going to explore the gradient windows. So we're going to start by drawing a circle. So go to your ellipse tool, and we'll draw 3. So we'll copy and paste, Command C and V, and do it again, Command C, Command V, and that brings us 3 circles of the same size. So this is going to be our linear gradient. We'll just see how it works on a circle. So we go to our gradients, and we're going to select linear, and we don't want to have the line, so let's make sure that's not showing. So we have our fill, and we're in gradient, and it's created a gradient for us. So moving the slider around, you can change how the gradient works. We can edit this gradient by choosing edit, and we can move these sliders around in here, and we can change the angle of our gradient, and we can add more color or shades to our gradient just by dragging them in. So what we're going to try and do is create a sphere. So this is our linear gradient. Okay, next we're going to explore our radial gradient. So into the gradient palette, we're going to go choose radial gradient. And it's just going to do a default fill for us with what we just last used. And we can do exactly the same thing. We can move our sliders around. We can pull up and down. We can change the degree. We can change the angle. And again, if we choose edit gradient, we can move our points around. And let's see, let's add, that's kind of interesting. It almost looks like a sphere. Well, let's add a little bit of color, a little bit of variation here. Let's not go completely black. Let's fill in there. Our location. 100% was good. Yeah, let's get rid of the black line. And that looks pretty good. Okay. That was our radial gradient. Okay, so now we're going to work with our free form gradient, which is this one. So double click. And this works the same way. We can edit our gradient. We can bring points in and around and move them. We can add a point and add a shade or a shape to it, or color, I mean. Let's add a little more shade here. Yeah, we can change the opacity. We can change the spread. So this is working on the dot. We can edit our gradient. Let's just pulling these around, seeing what looks good. And maybe we'll make this point just a little bit darker. And pull it around. Bring this up. And there we have something that looks a little bit more like a globe. And this is our freeform gradient. Freeform gradient. Let's give it a little bit of a shadow so it looks like it's sitting above the page. To do that, I'm going to grab our ellipse tool again. Grab our ellipse tool again, one more time. Send that to the back. Okay, there it is in the back. And then we're going to give it a little blur. We've been looking at Gaussian blurs. So here's the blur. Give it a Gaussian blur. And maybe a little bit. Tell it okay. And let's edit this a little bit more. Let's bring this up. And I get a little bit of shade here. Let's make this a whiter. There we go. So now we have more of a spherical shape. Copy and paste our blends, send that to the back. Paste. Send that to the back. And I just want you to experiment with these gradients. And when you've done one in black and white, I'd like you to experiment with some colors. So give that a shot. Get to learn how the gradients work. They're great tools. And that'll be our lesson.